thinking about the tenors in terms of movement is big. So moving this way and this way, that is horizontally and vertically, is big. So a couple exercises I have, just real short things that you can begin to work on, is figuring out how to move from one drum to the next without picking up the stick and just moving it. It's a very basic idea, and what you can think of is a check mark. When you move from one drum to the next, you want to move in a check mark. So you can actually see, as I'm drawing a line in the sky without hitting the drum, a check mark. So this would be an example of that. If I started with my stroke up, moving to the next drum. I don't hit the next drum, but I just move to the next drum. By doing this, I get the idea that rebound takes me to where I need to go. So that's combining both the vertical and horizontal movement. Lots of times I'll see people play eights around the drums like this. And as tempo increases, that really limits them to having a legato stroke. Whereas you want, a full legato low stroke. And then as tempo increases, it limits their ability to scrape in a full diddle context. Like we've said before, have a full diddle sound. So if you want to really take it from a small idea, where we go from here to here, and then make that turn into this, and then return back to this drum. I'm going from the 2 drum to the 1 drum. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? As I speed that up, it becomes what later turns into your scrape idea. And instead of getting that sound, just like on 1 drum, we were shooting for this, should be able to sound the same on going around the drums as you do on 1 drum. That's a tenor law. Should be a law. So that idea of keeping a very full stroke, one hand at a time, going around the drums in a check mark manner, practicing that first, shifting from 1 drum to the next, will hopefully get you to the point where you can glide along the drums with both hands. Start out slow, and then I suggest doing the same thing with your scrape patterns. A very basic scrape pattern I teach is just down the drums. If you can't see, it's just 2, 1, 1, 2. Again, I'm labeling the drums 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 1, 1, 2. You might be wondering, why am I starting up like this? It's to really magnify the motion from 1 drum to the next. When you start to play, you start down. But this is really to magnify the checkmark motion that I started out with. So 2, 1, 1, 2, then 1, 3, 2, 4. This slow. Just getting that down, it's a simple scrape pattern. You don't have to go in all of your stuff right away. But later that'll teach you to break down each phrase that you learn when you're doing scrapes like that with that same movement check or movement approach. Small movements create larger movements. So Bill goes into a lot about that in his book. But creating an idea where you can clean your movement, like if you have something like, well, you would want to clean that like this. You see, I broke that down. And then maybe even like this. Or like this. Or like this. to different rhythms to where you get the motion clean before you jump into that, because then you're never gonna, it's gonna sound like this if you don't do that. Which is not only rims, but it's this kind of roll. Okay, so those are some things to work on. It all starts with this. The shifting from one drum to the next. And from there you can get all kinds of other things going. Your scrape patterns will become clearer, and you'll notice that you're more in control of your tenor drums. And then you get more split patterns instead of everything written on one drum, which is what we love as tenor players. Hope this helps. Bye-bye.